Now, continuing with meditation. This will no doubt be the most challenging of the bunch, as it always is. In the first 100 days, we looked at mindful awareness as a key component. Okay, now if you have seen the W spectrum, which you guys can revert back to in the workbook, you will notice that that happens kind of around the center stage, level 2 of the meditation spectrum itself. Beyond that, we start to look at concentration practices, and beyond that, we start to look at Qigong. Does this mean you guys cannot start practicing concentration from day one? No. Does it mean you cannot practice Qigong from day one? Absolutely not. What it does mean is that there are natural progressions in terms of development. The same way that there are with strength and flexibility, so too with meditation. Why is that? If you watch the way young kids develop, even from a very early age, almost all of them have a sense of awareness, unbelievable sense of awareness. Before they have any concepts and organization of their world, almost everything is alive and beautiful, and they want to touch it and feel it and taste it, and they're aware of everything. But you notice very quickly that something, just like even with animals, something will almost immediately draw their attraction to the side, okay? Awareness comes first. After that, concentration starts to develop through natural interests, hobbies, and education, okay? Combining these two becomes the essence of Qigong practice, which starts to look at higher levels of breath integration with these two things, which look at energy enhancements, energy reduction needs in the body. So you need less energy. It also stores more energy in the body and allows you to convert energy faster. It stimulates adrenaline. It does a lot of different things when Qigong steps in. But prior to that, we have a natural progression, and that is where we're going to look a little bit more carefully at in this next program. So everybody asks when they start to practice standing meditation for the first time, can I sit? And it's a pretty common desire to do that because they assume that sitting is going to be easier than standing. When I practiced Qigong with my first Qigong teacher, I'll never forget asking him the same question, and he laughed when I did so. It was almost like, stupid student, you know nothing. His only response was, you can't practice seated meditation. It's far too difficult. Okay? This was after we were standing in a golden bell posture for 20 to 30 minutes. Your arms are burning, your body is shaking, you feel like you can hardly physically stand, and you're practicing Qigong. His response was, you can't practice seated. It's far too difficult. Whether or not it is far too difficult, I'm not sure I care enough to say, but what does matter a lot is the progression. So I'm glad you guys made it through 100 days of standing meditation. I want you to keep that for your mindful awareness practice, because as we start to get into Qigong and other practices, it becomes central again. Now, we've got a few new tools that we're going to integrate for this round of meditation. They are not meditation themselves in the practice, okay? But both of them can lead to higher meditative states. The first one is reverse counting, which is a concentration practice. It is a tedious and boring practice intentionally, okay? It cannot be gamed. Either you hit the number or you don't. Either you've maintained your concentration or you haven't. And that is why it is such an elegant solution to the concentration problem. And as you guys have probably noticed already, concentration is key toward actually practicing mindful awareness for any extended period of time, okay? So we might consider concentration the anchor, while awareness happens all around it. So to review what our minds do in general, okay, we talked about this early on in the last program. Our mind tends to operate in two capacities, if we could gross generalize here. It's either opening to the extent that your mind is here, experience is up here, and it's expanding to the point where it's absorbing, experiencing, sensing, and the amount of data that comes into you is more voluminous, or there's just more data, okay? On the other side, we could look at it in terms of narrowing, which happens any time that we tend to concentrate on something specifically. You might be playing a video game and missing everybody else around you, yelling at you, telling you to do something. You might be solving a work problem, in which case you just zone out everything going on around you, okay? Each of these are different natural capacities for the mind, and most of us tend to neglect one or both of them. So now it's time to do the real work. Okay, you guys have laid a foundation. You more or less understand the premise of meditation and mindful awareness, and you understand the pitfalls, which is simply that standing still and being fully present is extremely challenging. So now we are going to start to do the real work, which is break down the parts of consciousness that lead to effective meditation. And we're going to do so, as I just mentioned, with the first tool, which is concentration practice. Extremely simple to apply. And when you guys see this, it's going to be as so. Okay? We'll start with a very low number, probably around 1 or 200. Let's take 100 for example. You're going to close your eyes. You can do this seated if you want or standing. Back straight. Never use back support in a chair if you are seated. Always be freestanding. Engage the core. Feet flat. Head pulled up by the center crown point. Shoulders back, rotated out. Tongue pressed up. Visualizing the number progress in your forehead. Now, a lot of people try to rush this practice, 100, 99, 98, and they just get through it. The whole point is to be here. Be with the count. Watch it, view it, be with it 100%. That's what makes it challenging. Don't just rush through. Okay, so the cadence should be something like 100, 99, 98, 97, and so on. It's perfectly okay to speak the numbers. If you don't speak the numbers, it's just a harder practice. Okay? If you get down from your count, and we're going to try to push these numbers up to 400 or 500, if you finish and you're not sure if you made a mistake, you made a mistake. Okay, that's the simple measure. Now, once you get through a certain count, let's say from 100 to 0, you successfully do that 5 times on separate days. After you can do that, then it's time to move up to 200, 200 to 0. 5 consecutive times successfully, great. Move up to the higher level. If you make one mistake, you go back down to the preceding level and you start over from there, okay? So for example, you fail at 400, you go back down to 300 one time, complete that, then you go back up to 400 and you start that set of 5 over again. And we're going to try to gradually work our way up through this, okay? Pretty straightforward. Now to the second practice, which is breath control. We're going to try to reduce the number of breaths required per minute, okay? This is extremely challenging for most people, but you can train it and it will get better. And what it does is it creates space and time for your mind to sense and feel a little bit more. It slows you down. It has other benefits over time, like adrenaline production, allowing you to calm down and relax at a quicker pace, and to enter a state of meditation. Okay? So for this one, you will simply take a number of breaths. You'll get your stopwatch out and you'll time how long it takes you to take those breaths. You don't want to game this one by, for example, you don't want to take a huge deep breath and then do a very, very slow, long exhale. This is one way to possibly game it. You want to regulate your breath so it is constant, the same amount of time relatively in and the same amount of time relatively out, getting to full deep inhale, full deep outhale, while applying the same abdominal breathing that you guys hopefully mastered in the first round. Okay, so this is still abdominal breathing. Now what you guys will notice very quickly is you'll get this sense of feeling like you're almost drowning, and that's simply because you're using up all the oxygen as quickly as it's coming in, and you're not having any capacity left over. That's part of the practice, okay? And this does a lot of interesting things physiologically down the road, but for right now, we'll just use it as a tool to slow you down and to allow you to sense and feel more within that practice. So start just observing and controlling the breath. The better that you get at it, start to use it as a transition into awareness, okay? You maintain all these points, very slow breathing, observe the breath entirely, and then start to enliven the senses. Okay, meditation as a crutch. Now this one doesn't work the same way that the other two tend to work. You are not going to get injured if you are practicing meditation and you're not strong enough. But there is a reason that within the weightlessness spectrum, meditation is underweighted relative to strength, and that is simply because it is almost impossible for people to do 5 minutes of concentrated awareness in the beginning stages, and yet you can build your body. Okay? Now what strength does that is extremely interesting is it helps build the fortitude and the discipline required for serious meditative practice. I mentioned this in the other video, which is that in the Shaolin temple tradition, the physical arts are practiced for 10 years before Qigong becomes a central component. Okay? You should think about your development the same way. Does this mean you should not practice meditation early on? Not at all. Does it mean that it cannot be effective? Not at all. It just means that we are looking for the highest probability of your making real progress and gains with this, developing the skills inherent in meditation, to be able to access the present moment more rapidly, to be able to concentrate and focus on anything. And this requires a lot of discipline. Okay? So it's a crutch to the extent that you have neglected some of the other things because they're hard, but you probably are not getting the results that you want. Okay? So, within meditation, if you have gotten to a high level of meditation, we'll call it a crutch for now, but congratulations. It's extremely difficult to do. Okay? But what you tend to find is that people that are developed meditatively, they tend to do so in nice environments, quiet environments, and then as soon as they enter a more stressful environment, they don't have the kind of stamina and focus that allows them to access that in the middle of a city, in the middle of, you know, a place that has a lot of noise and sound and distraction. And meditation is no different from you. It is a state of mind that you can access at any time, okay? So if that is not developed and practiced alongside physical conditioning and developing the fortitude that comes with physical conditioning, you are always going to be leaving something on the table, and you may not be able to apply meditation fully. You may always have to do it in a temple or in a forest, okay? But most of you guys are high performers. Most of you guys, have full-time jobs, possibly even executives or entrepreneurs, people that you guys are in the shit every single day. To be able to apply meditation, you need a strong body, okay? So that comes first. And if you're developed meditatively already, let's just go back, let's build the body and do the hard work there too, okay? Good luck, guys. Yep, okay. Oh my God. Whoosa.
You're like,
Stillness.
you're like, you're
Stillness.
like.
Fucking dogs going apeshit.